All right, and welcome back, everybody, to Strange Planet Podcast. And in this week's episode, we are going to be covering the fifth Republican debate, which was earlier this week. And it has been narrowed down now to just two. It was Nikki Haley on that stage, and it was Ron DeSantis. I believe Chris Christie, hours before the debate, actually pulled out. And the other missing person from the Final Four a couple of months back was Vivek Ramaswamy, and he wasn't there either. But it was weird because we had gotten no word of what the deal is or why he wasn't. Not that I'm complaining, because that guy's out of his fucking mind. But I guess, yeah, what was your take on this?
So just a point of clarification. So Chris Christie announced he was suspending his campaign. So he just dropped out completely. Campaigns these days don't officially end, so they can continue fundraising to, make up all their debts. But Chris Christie has more or less dropped out of the race. Ramaswamy, on the other hand, didn't qualify for the debate. He didn't rack up enough poll numbers, just like some of the other Republicans we've seen disappear from the stage.
Right. Probably like Hutchinson, too, was probably in that category.
Right.
But go on.
Donald Trump, of course, qualified, but he didn't show up. He chose to go to another event in Iowa that took place at the same time. So he held his own event.
Sounds about right.
Sounds normal, as per the norm.
But I can tell you my take on the whole thing, because honestly, I was watching it, and it was just as embarrassing, if not more embarrassing, than the ones prior. Because, it really just seemed like a high school argument between two people. And, there wasn't that much policy and there wasn't that much, direction when it came to what they were talking about. You know what I mean? It was more like, how can I throw this guy under the bus and call him a liar? And she calls him a liar. And they're each calling each other a liar. And they both probably are. Who are they kidding? You know what I mean? And then the weirdest thing that I kind of felt like was taking away from Nikki Haley when she kept bringing up that website. Because, you want to expose his lies. Yep. I get it. But it's like you keep throwing that up and you're using it as a crutch. And that crutch is going to crack. It's not going to work. You know what I mean? This is the dumbest society has ever been. So, the chances of them even going to the website is slim to none. You know what I mean? Because people are going to believe whatever they want to believe thanks to social media. You know what I mean? They're going to search for what they want and sure shit, you know what I mean? Results are going to come in. But all I'm saying is it was embarrassing to watch. And to be honest, no one on that stage, including the missing guy, Trump, is qualified to even run in my eyes. So I feel like it's not even a stalemate. It's more or less, I felt like a checkmate. What do you guys think?
Well, I feel like with Nikki Haley, she was trying to get a sort of viral moment by repeating RonDeSantisLies.com. She was trying to create this sense of that Ron DeSantis was, in fact, a liar. And it was sort of like her attempt to create a meme. I think it backfired after the first few times that she said it, but she kept trying to use it. And, it just became more and more ineffective the more she tried to use it as the debate went on. I think, and I say this as someone who thought Nikki Haley performed strongly in the previous debates. I think this was her worst debate. I think she got crushed.
I agree.
By Ron DeSantis. And I think her most standout moment of that debate, which almost came off as a concession, and she may have been being genuine, but in politics, that's maybe not the best thing. When they asked the two candidates about what they admire about the other, Ron DeSantis gave some answer with some caveats. He said, oh, yeah, she said some things at the UN that I kind of agreed with. And, her South Carolina's nice. And she got to be the governor of that state. When it came to Nikki Haley and they asked what she admired about him, she answered, he's a good governor.
That was it, too.
Full stop.
Yeah.
And, you had to admire her in one sense for, giving an honest answer, her honest assessment of him as a governor. Now, I definitely don't agree. I mean, I'm not a Floridian, but I think he has been somewhat tumultuous as a governor. You know, maybe economically, the state's doing pretty well, but I think the sort of culture wars he has stoked up in that state and the division that he has engendered in that state is not a good thing over the long term. But we can maybe talk about some of that stuff later. What did you think? Who won the debate, Mark?
Well, before I get into that end of it, what I do think is, I think her comment of he's a good governor was more like a backhanded compliment. Like, yeah, he's a good governor. Let's keep him as a governor. That's what I thought she meant by that.
Okay, yeah, no, I saw it completely differently. I saw it as her, like, you know, being
he's a good governor. Pat him on the back. Yeah.
Yeah, you're a good governor. But yeah, no, like I thought you know, it came off to me as being genuine in her, you know, just saying, you know what, you know, we've had a battle throughout this debate, and you know what, at the end of the day, he's done an effective job as governor. I won't say he's a good governor, but he does seem like he's effective.
I agree. The one thing I will say that Nikki Haley actually was the first to say, not even just in the previous debate that we're talking about here. She said this a few times in the debates earlier. And then I noticed suddenly, I think Ron DeSantis actually brought it up too this time, was the whole Trump adding the 7-8 trillion to the debt. So like he should be held accountable for that and should have to speak on that. You know what I mean? And that's among a list of many things. So, like, I feel like by his absence at these debates, he's dodging this shit. But you can't dodge it forever. It's going to come back to haunt you. You know what I mean? So I kind of commend them for at least bringing that up. And there's plenty of other things that they didn't that they probably should have, including the January 6th scenario, which we'll probably talk about soon here. But, you know what I mean? The bottom line is like the absence of him there among them also shows, I almost feel like, disrespect to the country.
Yeah. I mean, but do his voters really care? They didn't care about all the things that Trump did throughout his presidency. Do you really think he's going to care about him breaking decorum in terms of not showing up for a debate?
That's a very good point.
No, the thing about the Trumpians is they believe he's their savior because he's not a politician. And I believe both sides of the parties have been, like, the people have been fed up with just politics in general. It's like we're tired of politicians who say one thing and then do another, and then we sit here with less money in our pockets. They really believe that he's going to be their savior, that he's going to go in there and get rid of all the bullshit people and put in people who are going to do the right thing, but they don't realize he's going to do the exact opposite.
Exactly. And the sad part is it's like deja vu or Groundhog's Day, because everything you just said that they think about Trump, it's like we were here back in 2016. Nothing happened. You didn't get anything unless you're making over like $400,000, $500,000. And maybe not even that. You might need to be more of a billionaire or a millionaire to really get all those great tax cuts that historically have never been so high for this country. But for the average American and middle and low class, they didn't get anything out of this. There's not one thing I could name. So it's like they think he's a savior. But please, I would love to know, explain to me what he did to make your life better in those 4 years. Because I can't name one thing.
See, that's the thing. No one actually knows.
He left office.
How he did that. But as the everyday common person, you know, does their thing, no one really sees most of the effects of things that happen in government because it's usually like a small ripple effect down the end, except for when it comes to like economics and fucking with people's money. So I don't know what goes through these people's heads thinking, like, seeing everything that's been going on, unless they just don't know what's going on. And that is the case too, because, you know, information is power in this country, and I'm pretty sure some of those states don't have certain stations that allow people to say certain things. I mean, we're not in a totalitarian government yet, but some of the states kind of run their shit like that. For instance, there is with the Colorado and leaving Trump's name off of it, and now they're trying to do that in Maine too, off the ballot.
Yeah, there's a few other states that got added to that too.
But like I forget which specific group in Maine. So saying like, no, if you guys want to do that, we're going to take Joe Biden's name off. And it's like, you have no precedent to do that. There's nothing, you could show us that's going to be like, yeah, you could take Joe Biden's name off because, he did something wrong. It's like, people just don't get it.
Right. That's really spot on there, because they can try to threaten Biden all they want, but he didn't break the law. He doesn't have any indictments. What did he do? Please inform me. Like, I can tell you maybe what Hunter Biden did, but that's Hunter. Hunter's not going to be the president. So whatever happens to him, happens to him. Yeah,
That's
this is irrelevant
circus
to him. But it's like, it's totally irrelevant. You know what I mean? So so you can say what you want about him, and even so, it would have no effect because he didn't do anything. Everything's speculation. You know what I mean? Or just hearsay, even if there's no facts behind any of it, at least not that I've heard. I don't know about you guys.
Well, all of this is just to start putting mud on Joe Biden's name, regardless of what the situation is. They've gotten so desperate that they're projecting everything that's going against Trump onto Biden. Oh, well, if you're going to indict him, we're going to indict him. If you're going to get him charged for federal crimes, we're going to get him charged for federal crimes. If you're going to take his name off the ballot, we're going to take his name off the ballot. It's like kindergarten.
It really is. You did it to me, so now we're going to do it to you. But it's like, what's your moral ground here? What's your substance? There isn't any.
The best thing that happened this week, and I think Mark was about to bring this up, was that the Republicans held a hearing to hold Hunter Biden in contempt for defying a congressional subpoena to appear to testify about his alleged crimes. And Hunter Biden shows up at Congress.
I heard about
because
this.
Hunter Biden has voluntarily submitted to being interviewed by Congress about his alleged crimes. But he wants to do so in public.
Which is smart, because he knows for a fact that if it's behind closed doors, they're going to wrap the story up and make up so much shit. Next thing you know, he'll be the next member of freaking the Taliban or something. They're
going to edit the shit out of anything he says. They're going to ask questions, wait for yes and no answers, and then apply one of those yeses to the questions he says no to.
That's why it should be public.
And everybody knows this. They got called out. Like you were saying, Rook, that like AOC called them out, saying like, you guys are only doing this because you want to get back at somebody on our side, and went off on Marjorie Taylor Greene for revenge porn, because as she was acknowledged by the head speaker, and Hunter Biden and his crew was like, nope, that's it, we're gone, later. Yeah, I mean, they called him out. They asked him, is anyone here would like to speak to Hunter Biden? Since he's here, you have any questions for him right now? Since, you're about to indict him for not coming to a subpoena, he's here? No hands, one person in the back, thank you. Nobody? You, Mr. Head Speaker, no? They ripped them, man. It was ridiculous. And like one dude pulled out our chart saying, oh, you want to talk about failing subpoenas? We have one person here who has 602 days, 15 hours, 47 minutes, and 37 seconds who has passed a subpoena and should be arrested. And that's one of many. So it's just like,
for real.
What's good for the goose is apparently not good for the gander when it comes to the Republicans.
Yes, because they feel they can do whatever they want, whenever they want, and it should be fine, regardless of the facts.
Out of all this time, from when I was growing up as a kid, and people tell you don't do bad things because you're going to get, you're going to get the consequences for that. And as growing up, you get consequences whether you get arrested or, your mom hits you with a wooden spoon or whatever the heck the situation is. Eventually, we learn, to do good or not to do good things, and some don't, but that's extremes. We won't go there right now. But like, what makes all these people in government think that, oh, I'll just lie and keep lying and everything will turn out fine?
I think it's because their base is dumb enough to believe it.
But I mean, some of them are going to open their eyes at some point and be like, oh, he really did try to throw over the government and make us the
pawns, more or less. Yeah, exactly. Because, like, what was that going to accomplish? Like, that was a sad day for not only democracy, but that was a sad day for this country that better never happen again, because that was just unreal.
The worst part about this all is if anyone has ever seen the movie Idiocracy, this truly makes me believe we are headed in that direction.
Oh, we're possibly there, but go on.
If this was 30 years ago, we would not be having this conversation of whether he did it or he didn't. He would have been indicted and out on his ass before January 6th happened.
I agree.
That was 30 years ago. If this was 60 years ago, he'd be swinging from a noose for being a traitor to the country. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, you got a lot of truth to that. There is. Because, like, it's like the Republican Party's just got, like, this, like, leadway cushion for him. I don't know if it's got money involved or what the deal is there, but
it has to be money. It's always
something's
about
going
money.
On. Yeah, because this is unacceptable, really. You know what I mean? And then, like, adding to what you were saying earlier about, like, people being tired of politicians, I really don't think it's a smart move that we go dip into Hollywood and start getting, like, actors.
Well, no,
and, you know what I mean? Because that's just
that, but it's like we need people who know how the government system works that haven't been tainted by the lifelong government people who make this a career. I mean, the whole point is to come in, serve your time as the country, you know, as doing something good for the country, and then eventually step away. You get people like Mitch McConnell and others who are there, 3, 4, 5 decades. It's right. Like, dude, no, too much.
And he ain't the only one, too. There's plenty of them in there. Some of them die in there, for Christ's sakes.
This is about serving. I mean, the only lifelong one should be the Supreme Court. And that's fine, because that's supposed to be like the law of the land. But my whole thing is, it's just that when you get these people who are in positions of power, they eventually rub elbows with other people who they decide to help them out. So they get helped out, and you know, all these backdoor deals. I mean, our government is not serving us; it's serving themselves, and we're by proxy serving them with our tax money, and we're not getting anything in return. So this is like the shell game almost, or some other kind of scam. And that's what, you know, people have been tired of that for years. So you get someone like Trump who's like, oh, wow, you know, he's ballsy, you know, maybe he'll do some good. And so they back him, not understanding that he's, you know, a corporate scumbag.
Basically, and, it's only out for himself and the rich.
He's not even the rich. He's out to make himself rich. And if he has to make other people rich and to do so, then fine. But he does not pay his dues, his lawyers, his contractors. You know, that's why, like, Trump steaks failed. He doesn't pay people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about the rich. It's about himself, period.
100% there.
I didn't even answer Rook's question either. I'll be honest, I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched most of the highlights. And as for the digs back and forth, I felt like Nikki Haley gave it a good shot, but she seemed frazzled. Like, you know, something was bothering her. And I don't know if Rook mentioned it, but she kept talking about DeSantis liardessantis.com. And it was just, I don't know. She seemed a little frazzled. I mean, he didn't, you know, he seemed like DeSantis, which is like, okay. But I'd have to say he won.
That's what I think, too.
Yeah, I mean, long term. I thought in almost all the debates, DeSantis was one of the weaker ones on the stage. He kind of shrunk into himself between all the other candidates. He appeared weak and whiny, but actually I thought last night he actually gave off some semblance of being somewhat presidential.
He was only being attacked by one person, so I think that has a major effect of it.
Yeah,
I mean, his time.
Yeah,
or
he had more
smart.
Yeah, he had more time to speak. He had fewer people attacking him. He was able to articulate points for longer. He had a lot of canned lines that he remembered. Like, I'm a fan of alliteration, but he used, like, you know, a sequence of alliteration in a row that, you know, you could tell, you know, he probably wrote on the palm of his hand and read and memorized before the debate so that, you know, he could deliver those lines. But, you know, he came off pretty smooth. The only facepalm moment for me was when he said, there's going to be a new sheriff in town.
Yeah.
You know, he needs to stop with that, like, I'm gonna punish you. He needs to stop with that and continue acting more presidential. I will say one thing though that pissed me the fuck off. All right.
Mm.
So at the debate, he essentially was asked a question about the George Floyd incident. And his response was, I don't even think people recognize how awful it was.
It was sickening.
He said that, in effect, why should someone in Iowa care about what happened to George Floyd?
Imagine that. This is a potential presidential candidate saying that.
Like, this was his moment to be like, okay, this was a bad thing. Like, the cop who did that is now in prison for decades. And, I think when there's a video of someone getting the life choked out of them, essentially
in public,
for no good reason, wasn't resisting, was just dying. I think that if you don't recognize the humanity of that person on the ground whose life is being taken from him, and you turn and you make it political in terms of saying, why does someone in Iowa care about someone, that's not, like them or from there? That is not who you want as president.
Not at all.
Like,
no
that's
way.
where, policy aside, that's where you fucking lost me. I
agree. Yeah, because that's just wrong on so many levels. So what? Because someone lives in a different state, oh, that doesn't affect me. So I'm not gonna. That has nothing to do with me. So I'm just not gonna comment, or I'm not gonna feel bad, or So it's okay. In other words. So like that's
Nikki
what that
Haley
implied.
had the right answer.
She did, and she had a better answer than he did for that. That's for certain. But that surprised me with him too. But once he said that, I was like, wow, really? So that's how you feel? Like,
like he wasn't even trying to like sugarcoat it or say anything like, he's just like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, that's what it felt like. It really did.
I don't like Ron DeSantis. I'd rather have Nikki Haley if I'd had to choose between the two.
Oh, absolutely.
At least she has some better ideas with some policies. It's just, she's Republican. So,
You know what I just heard recently about Haley? Judge Judy endorsed her, believe it or not. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really make a difference either way. But
I don't really take Judge Judy's endorsement into account when deciding my vote. But for people that do, I'm sure they receive some comfort in knowing that, Judge Judy supports Nikki Haley.
I mean, I guess, right? But yeah, it's sad. I'm going to bring this up too, only because I brought this up on every debate, because I noticed it's a pattern. Because one of the biggest topics that they always talk about is, getting away from China, getting away from having to rely so much on them and stuff. And they like to demonize them, call them the enemy and stuff like that. But then the first commercial is a TikTok commercial. Every time. Now, is that not just ironic, or is it just me?
It's a little more than ironic. It's probably planned.
Yeah, because it's like you're condemning them, but you'll take the money for the commercial usage. So I just find that really strange.
Well, no, I that's the company, buying advertising dollars during that segment. And yeah, the broadcast companies like that really, I guess can't reject, certain ads due to political viewpoints. However, it is pretty funny that
right?
they'll trash TikTok, and then you'll see a TikTok commercial
directly after. The first commercial is usually a TikTok commercial. I just find it funny.
It's almost like a smack in the face.
Yeah, because they're sitting there demonizing it, and then you get to hear how this guy made a food truck business work out, all thanks to TikTok. Like, it's it's unbelievable.
These next few years, man, are going to be rough.
I'll tell you what, especially if Trump wins, God forbid. But
don't say something like that.
Yeah, we're still a full year out. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of time and a lot to be done. So hopefully it doesn't resort to that. But the thing that still blows my mind is the fact that this is still like a topic, because it shows how far not only the Republican Party has not come, but it just shows how history once again could possibly repeat itself for the worst again. Because, like, God forbid he does win, it's going to be 4 more years of nothing. Nothing will pass. Nothing's going to get done. Maybe the rich will probably cash out like they always do, more than ever. And that's just going to be it. So all these people that think he's the saving grace and the Lord Savior coming to help, he ain't going to give them a motherfucking thing, you know?
Well, that's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is he destroys democracy as we know it.
That's not even possible. That's probable at this point. Like, I'm almost willing to bet that that's going to be on the agenda, because it's going to be all about revenge and retaliation. That's all it's going to be about. Because if you think about it, even when he was president on his last term, what did he do? What got passed that made anybody's life any better? I can't name anything. I can under Biden. I can under Obama. But I can't under Trump. Can you?
No, well, he did have a stimulus check that, you know, everyone got to benefit from.
Oh, but that was due to COVID.
Well, he still passed it. He still signed it into law. So got to give him credit where it's due. Trust me, there's a lot of things that he didn't do or that he did do that were fucking wrong. But, you know, let's be honest here. He did do the stimulus.
That is true, I suppose. But Biden passed an infrastructure plan, the long-awaited and needed one, too. What did he pass that was substantially as good as something like that?
Well, if you're wealthy, he passed tax cuts.
Yeah, that's like I was saying before. That doesn't affect any middle-class or lower-class citizen. That's just an extra handout for the rich. It always cracks me up with this country, though, because it's like the Republicans love to bitch that, oh, well, the welfare, they're taking all the money. You guys should be getting mad at that. But what about all the tax cuts that they get? They get a different form of welfare, if you think about it. You know what I mean? So it's like, get mad at the poor who need it more for, you know, having to take money out of your check for welfare. But never mind them. They can keep all the billions and millions for themselves. That's supposed to trickle down to everybody else, which is the biggest crock of shit I ever heard. 30 years later.
Well, they'll say they earned it, so they get to keep it.
I don't see how they earned it when it's a handout.
It's their money.
Well, it's their money granted by the government.
No, it's granted by the people that pay for their products and services. The government steps in and takes a chunk of it. That's how they look at it. And that is one way to look at it. The alternative, or an alternative way to look at it, is that our society, partially through our government, structures it such that those businesses can be successful. We have state, federal, and local government making business policy that helps keep businesses, start businesses and keep them afloat, help them grow, protect them, protect their products. You know, we have copyright laws and trademark laws and all types of laws that benefit keeping like businesses healthy and thriving.
Businesses.
And not to mention we have police services and like, you know, some businesses have police services that like patrol. Does anyone patrol outside your house? No, they do that for fucking businesses.
Right. Because businesses are more important than people in this country.
Right.
That's
so to protect, you know, so if they didn't have that, then they'd be more prone to theft or, you know, robbery. So, you know, businesses and wealthy people benefit in a lot of ways from society that they don't often recognize. And so they definitely, at least in theory, if you accept this theory, they at least owe society something for us continuing to structure society in a way that obviously benefits them, that obviously permits them to be successful and to thrive without interference or much interference from the masses and social upheaval.
I can tell you this, if something doesn't change in that department, don't expect any change ever. Because it's just going to stay the same or get worse for the average American or lower class citizen. Because until they realize that businesses aren't people, maybe we can get this thing moving a little bit better. But that doesn't look like it's ever going to be the case. But that's just the way I feel about that, though. You know what I mean? Like, if certain things within that isn't changed, how can you ever expect to see a difference that matters to an average American? It's not designed. The government is not the way it is now, is not the way it was 50, 60, 70 years ago. It's all wrapped around business and billions. Like, put it this way, on another note, last election, the 2020 election, I heard there was up to $1 billion in advertisements and money that was thrown in. They're saying that this election coming up could be as much as $10 billion being thrown at it. So, like, big money needs to get out of this politics. And I think getting rid of Citizens United is probably the starting point. And that's all for this week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications. Strange Planet will have new episodes on YouTube every Friday. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.